Okay. So good morning, all of you. So in our last lecture, we have started properties of the refrigerant. So in that properties of refrigerant, we have seen the three types of property. So we are knowing that there are basically three types of property. First one is called as a thermodynamic property. Second one is called as a chemical, that is also called as a safe working property. And third one is called as a physical property. Then again under thermodynamic property, there are five subtypes of thermodynamic property. Those are nothing but boiling point temperature, freezing point temperature, evaporator and condenser pressure, critical temperature and pressure. Last one is nothing but latent heat of vaporization. So we have seen related to each point, that is nothing but boiling point, freezing point. After that, evaporator and condenser pressure, then critical temperature and pressure, and last one is latent heat of vaporization. Then we have seen this chart related to various refrigerant which are having the various thermodynamic properties or values of various thermodynamic properties. Then after that, we have seen the chemical. That chemical properties also called as the safe working properties. So there are various chemical properties. So these are the various chemical properties which each and every refrigerant is possessing. So that is nothing but flammability, toxicity, then miscibility, chemical stability, and effect on the stored product or stored food. So related to this also, we have seen for each and every refrigerant. Then after that, we have seen the various physical properties which each and every refrigerant is possessing. So the various physical properties which each and every refrigerant possessing is nothing but specific volume, then viscosity, then corrosive property, thermal conductivity, specific heat of liquid and vapor refrigerant, odor, and leak tendency. So related to each and every physical property, we have elaborated from point of view of refrigerant. So in the last lecture, we have covered all those properties of the refrigerant. Now, last part from this refrigerant topic is nothing but the effect of refrigerant on the environment. Effect of the refrigerant on the environment. So we are basically knowing that whatever refrigerants are there, those are broadly classified into two categories. First one is called as a primary refrigerant, and second one is called as a secondary refrigerant. Whereas primary refrigerant is categorized into four subcategories, that is nothing but halocarbon, then azeotropic, then inorganic, and last one is nothing but hydrocarbon refrigerant. So nowadays, that means in older days, previously we were before introduction of halocarbon refrigerant, we were using inorganic refrigerant in extensive amount. But nowadays we are using the halocarbon refrigerant in extensive amount, but there are some drawback of using the halocarbon refrigerant. So that halocarbon refrigerant, as that halocarbon refrigerant is consisting of the halogen atoms such as chlorine, fluorine, bromine. So that halocarbon refrigerant is affecting on the environment adversely. So what is the effect of refrigerant on the environment that we have to see? So in that, first one is nothing but the global warming. So nowadays we are knowing about the global warming. So each and everyone is well known about this term called as a global warming. Now, what is the actual concept of global warming? What will happen? Suppose if I am going to consider this as the Earth surface, this as the Earth surface, and suppose this as the Sun. So Sun is continuously emitting the radiation or rays, sun rays. So whatever sun is there, that sun is continuously emitting the rays. So whatever those rays will be there, that rays are following on the Earth surface. So whatever these rays are there, initially these rays will be short wavelength rays. So after emitting, so after getting strike on the Earth surface, those rays will get reflected. Those rays will get reflected, and those reflected rays are going back to the environment or in the atmosphere. But what is happening because of extensive use of refrigerant, which are consisting of various uh, various elements such as carbon dioxide, then CFC. So what is happening that uh, reflected rays are not getting exposed to the atmosphere. Those reflected rays are getting absorbed by that carbon dioxide or various elements which are available in the environment. And because of the same, what will happen? As those carbon dioxide as well as CFCs are nearer to the Earth's surface, that's why the temperature of Earth's surface will goes on increasing. So that concept will be called as a global warming. So whatever global warming is there, that global warming is mainly produced because of carbon dioxide, CFC, and chlorine. So the gases which are causing the global warming is nothing but carbon dioxide, CFC, chlorofluorocarbon, and chlorine in the upper atmosphere. And why? Because these gases are trapping the infrared radiation. These gases are trapping the infrared radiation, which otherwise might be transmitted to the upper layer of the environment. So because of the same, there will be increasing temperature of the atmosphere nearer to the Earth's surface, and that will be called as the global warming. So here, depending upon the uh, potential of each and every refrigerant to cause the global warming, so there will be one term called as the global warming potential. So here, whenever that refrigerant is directly contributing to the global warming, which is released into the atmosphere, so whatever refrigerants are there, that will again directly contribute as well as indirectly contribute in the global warming. So out of these three gases, that carbon dioxide is directly contributing in the global warming, whereas CFC and chlorine will be indirectly contributing in the global warming. And because of increasing the temperature of the Earth's surface, as we are knowing that Earth is surrounded by near about 71% of the water, and most of the part of that water is in the form of ice. So if the temperature of Earth's surface will go on increasing, then there may be the chances that whatever ice is available on the Earth's surface, that may get melt. And because of the same, whatever tsunami, we have heard the word tsunami. So that is the again effect of the global warming only. So here, that refrigerant or leakage of the refrigerant in the environment is also causing the global warming. So that is the first effect of the refrigerant on the environment. Then second effect of refrigerant on the environment is nothing but the ozone depletion. So we are knowing that from the Earth's surface, from 12 to 50 kilometers, there will be the stratosphere, and in that stratosphere, there will be the ozone layer, and the function of ozone will be, so whatever ozone layer will be there. Here one diagram is there. I will show that diagram. So here you can clearly observe. This is the Earth's surface. This is the Earth's surface, and from 0 to 10 kilometers, so this much layer is called as a troposphere. This much layer is called as a troposphere. So here whatever white portion you are observing, that is called as the troposphere. And here from 10 kilometers to 50 kilometers from the Earth surface, from 10 kilometers to the 50 kilometers from the Earth surface, whatever layer will be there, that will be called as the stratosphere. That will be called as the stratosphere. And in that stratosphere, there will be the ozone layer. There will be the ozone layer. Ozone is nothing but O3. Ozone is nothing but O3. And because of this ozone layer, what will happen? Whatever ultraviolet rays which are coming from the sun rays, that whatever ultraviolet rays which are coming from the sun rays are there. So whenever those ultraviolet rays will travel towards the Earth's surface, so that ultraviolet rays has to travel from the stratosphere, and as inside the stratosphere there is the ozone. That's why that ozone molecule will absorb the ultraviolet radiations. That that will absorb the ultraviolet radiation, and because of the same, here clean radiation will be available on the Earth's surface. But what is happening, as we are using CFC type of refrigerant extensively, chlorofluorocarbon type of refrigerant extensively, so whatever chlorine atom is available in that CFC type of refrigerant, so that chlorine atom is consuming the ozone layer. That chlorine atom is consuming the ozone layer in presence of ultraviolet radiation. And because of the same, what is happening? there is a scarcity, or nowadays there is a scarcity of ozone molecule inside the stratosphere. That's why you might have heard the concept of ozone hole. So there may be the chances that production of coal in that stratosphere, and if there will be the production of coal in the stratosphere, then whatever ultraviolet radiations will be there, that will directly come on the earth's surface, and that ultraviolet radiation will have the adverse effect on the human being as well as nature which is available on the earth's surface. So whatever that ozone layer consumption is there, that ozone layer consumption is mainly because of the chlorine atom, which is available inside the refrigerant. So whatever chlorine atom is there, one chlorine atom is having tendency, one chlorine atom, one chlorine atom is having tendency to consume near about 1 lakh of ozone molecule, near about 1 lakh of ozone molecule. So if there will be the leakage of refrigerant, and if that refrigerant is a CFC type of refrigerant, CFC type of refrigerant means chlorofluorocarbon type of refrigerant, then here that is affecting on the ozone layer depletion, because that one chlorine atom is having tendency to consume or to absorb, to consume near about one chlorine atom is having tendency to consume near about 1 lakh of ozone molecule. So how that one chlorine atom is consuming near about 1 lakh of ozone molecule, that we will see. So wait. So as we are knowing that ozone layer is available from the 12 kilometer or 10 kilometer to 50 kilometer, and whatever CFC type of refrigerants are there, that CFC type of refrigerant, that means chlorine atom from that CFC type of refrigerant is consuming the ozone molecule. Now how that CFC type of refrigerant is consuming the ozone molecule? So here you can see the reaction. So if I'm going to consider CFC type of refrigerant, suppose I'm considering R11 or R12 as a refrigerant. Consider R11 as a refrigerant. So what is the formula for R11? CCl3F. CCl3F. That is the formula for R11. So when that R11 refrigerant, when that R11 refrigerant will come in contact with the ultraviolet radiation, when that R11 refrigerant will come in contact with the ultraviolet radiation, then there will be the decomposition of R11 refrigerant. And because of this decomposition of R11 refrigerant, there will be the production of separate chlorine molecule. There will be the production of separate chlorine molecule, and because of separation of chlorine molecule, whatever remaining component will be there, that will be CCl2F. That will be CCl2F. Now, whatever this chlorine atom is being separated, whatever this chlorine atom is being separated from R11 refrigerant, so that chlorine atom will come in contact with the ozone molecule. The chlorine atom will come in contact with the ozone molecule, which is available from the 10 to 50 kilometer surface, or 10 to 50 kilometer range, that is in the stratosphere. So when that chlorine atom will come in contact with the ozone molecule, that will decompose the ozone molecule. That will decompose the ozone molecule. That means there will be the production of ClO, inert chlorine oxide, plus oxygen. So there will be the production of oxygen, but here ozone molecule is getting depleted. Ozone molecule is getting depleted. Now when that ClO, whatever ClO is being generated, when that ClO will come in contact with the inert oxygen, when that ClO will come in contact with the inert oxygen, that will again form the reaction where chlorine atom will be separated, and again oxygen molecule will be generated. But here again there is a production of chlorine atom. So that chlorine atom will again consume the ozone molecule. That means same reaction, same chain reaction will continue. And because of the same, here if one chlorine atom will be generated, if one chlorine atom will be generated, so that one chlorine atom will have tendency to consume near about 1 lakh of ozone molecule, near about 1 lakh of ozone molecule. So whatever one chlorine atom is being generated, that is because of the CFC type of refrigerant. So that much severe effect that CFC type of refrigerant is having on the environment. And because of the same, here nowadays, whatever uh, there is one protocol. So that is called as a monochrome protocol. So according to monochrome protocol, nowadays we are not using a single CFC type of refrigerant. Nowadays we are not using the single CFC type of refrigerant. So though R11, R12 is having excellent properties, then also nowadays that CFC type of refrigerants are banned, and instead of CFC type of refrigerant, we are using the refrigerant which is not having the chlorine as the atom. So instead of chlorine, we can have the bromine or chlorine. So nowadays, that's why instead of using R12 as a refrigerant, instead of using R12 as a refrigerant, nowadays extensively we are using the refrigerant called as the R134A. R134A. So extensively we are using that R134A. So what is the chemical name of that R134A? So here, if I want to find out the formula for R134A, so here first digit will indicate that number of chlorine atom. So number of chlorine atom will be 4. F will be equal to 4. Second digit will indicate that number of hydrogen plus 1. So hydrogen atom will be equal to, how many hydrogen atom will be there? So hydrogen atom will be equal to 2. And third digit is indicating number of carbon minus 1. So here carbon atom will be equal to 2. So C2H2F4. Or here the chemical formula will be likewise. CC bond will be there, and 4 chlorine atom and 2 hydrogen atom will be there. So that will be called as a tetrafluoroethane. Chlorine, 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 and here hydrogen, hydrogen. So here R134A, we are using R134A as the alternative refrigerant. We are using R134A as the alternative refrigerant for R12. So here the chemical formula for R134A is nothing but tetrafluoroethane. So as not a single chlorine atom is present in that R134A, that's why ozone depletion potential, that means tendency to deplete the ozone molecule. As chlorine atom is not available, that's why it will not deplete a single ozone molecule. So here ozone depletion potential for R134A will be equal to 0. Are you getting? So this is called as the ozone depletion because of CFC type of refrigerant. So here also same reactions are being explained. CFC type of refrigerant, here you can consider R11, R12. So whenever that CFC type of refrigerant will come in contact with the ultraviolet radiation, so there will be the formation of free chlorine atom. So whenever that free chlorine atom will come in contact with the ozone molecule in the stratosphere, so there will be the formation of ClO plus oxygen. So whatever chlorine oxide is there, so ClO, when that will come in contact with the inert oxygen, so again there will be the formation of free chlorine atom and oxygen. So whatever this free chlorine atom will be there, that will again consume the ozone molecule. So this type of reaction will be there. So here same is explained with the help of this diagram also. So this is the CFC type of refrigerant. This is the CFC type of refrigerant. So when that CFC type of refrigerant will come in contact with the ultraviolet radiation, so there will be the separation of chlorine atom. So there's chlorine atom is getting separated. So this is the ozone molecule. Ozone is nothing but O3. So when that fluorine atom will come in contact with, or when that fluorine atom will hit on the ozone molecule, so because of this heating, there will be the formation of ClO. So this is the formation of ClO, and oxygen will get separated. So whenever that ClO, this is the ClO, whenever that ClO will come in contact with the inert oxygen, there will be the separation of oxygen, and again that fluorine molecule will be generated, and that fluorine molecule will again hit on the ozone molecule likewise. So here this is indicating the fluorine atom, this is indicating fluorine atom, this is indication of fluorine atom, sorry, this is indication of carbon, fluorine and oxygen atom. So this is called as the ozone depletion. Are you getting? Now, so what will happen if there will be the depletion of ozone layer? So if there will be the depletion of ozone layer, then directly that ultraviolet radiations will come on the Earth's surface. If there will be the depletion of ozone molecule, then as that ozone molecule is having the tendency to absorb the ultraviolet radiation, that's why if there will be the scarcity or depletion of ozone molecule, then that ultraviolet radiation will directly come on the Earth's surface, and because of the same, here on the human being there will be the increasing skin cancer, then suppression of human immunity response system, that means immunity system of human body will goes on decreasing, then there will be the increasing cataract. Cataract means it is one type of eye disease, so that is called as a मोतीबिंदू. डोळ्यामध्ये जो मोतीबिंदू जो असतो त्याला काय म्हणतो आपण, कॅटरॅक्ट. So here that is also increased because of the depletion of the ozone molecule. Then damage to the crops, so it will also hazardous to the crops. Then damage to the aquatic damage to the aquatic organism, that means whatever fish as well as various aquatic organisms are available in the water, that will also have the effect, that means ultraviolet radiation will also have the effect on this aquatic organism, and it will also cause to increase the global warming. So these are the various adverse effect of the depletion of ozone molecule on the Earth's surface, that means on the human being as well as on the nature. Are you getting? Then there are two important terms. First one is called as the ozone depletion potential, and second one is called as the global warming potential. So ozone depletion potential in the name itself. So whatever these two terms are there, ozone depletion potential and global warming potential. So both the terms are associated with the term called as a refrigerant. Ozone depletion potential and global warming potential, both the term will be associated with the term called as a refrigerant. So here in the name itself, ozone depletion potential, that means potential of any refrigerant, to deplete the ozone molecule, that will be called as the ozone depletion potential. Potential of any molecule, potential of any refrigerant to deplete the ozone molecule, that will be called as the ozone depletion potential, and highest value of ozone depletion potential will be considered as a 1. Highest value of ozone depletion potential will be considered as a 1, and that highest value of ozone depletion potential is possessed by the R11 refrigerant. म्हणजे R11 रेफ्रिजरंट जर मी कन्सिडर केला तर R11 रेफ्रिजरंटची ओझोन डिप्लेशन पोटेन्शियलची व्हॅल्यू काय असणार आहे, 1 असणार आहे, and that is nothing but the highest value. Then second highest value of ozone depletion potential is possessed by the R12 as a refrigerant. So R12 refrigerant will have the ozone depletion potential value as a 0.92. So R12 will have the ozone depletion potential as a 0.92. So ozone depletion potential or ODP value 1 will indicate that major severity. म्हणजे मॅक्सिमम जे ओझोन डिप्लेशन पोटेन्शियल जे होते ते कशामुळे होते, R11 रेफ्रिजरंट मुळे होते. त्यानंतर R12 रेफ्रिजरंट मुळे काय होते, 0.92% एवढं ओझोन डिप्लेशन पोटेन्शियल होते. If I am going to consider the refrigerant as a R134A, R134A, then what will be the value of ODP for R134A? किती असणार आहे? जर आपण टेट्राफ्लोरो इथेन जर कन्सिडर केलं तर टेट्राफ्लोरो इथेनची ओडीपी व्हॅल्यू किती असणार आहे? ओझोन डिप्लेशन पोटेन्शियल व्हॅल्यू किती असेल? So the value of ozone depletion potential for R134A is nothing but equal to 0. Why 0? Because that R134A refrigerant is does not consisting of the fluorine atom, and as there is no there is absence of fluorine atom, that's why that will not affect on the ozone depletion. That means ozone depletion potential value for R134A refrigerant will be 0. Are you getting? So likewise, you have to understand this term called as the ozone depletion potential. So here, if I will read this, according to Monotrol or Monotril protocol. So this is one protocol. So according to this Monotrol protocol, all the CFC type of refrigerants are being banned in the India. Why? Because of the ozone depletion potential. So according to Monotrol protocol, the ODP value of refrigerant, whatever refrigerant we are using, that should be equal to 0. That should be equal to 0. That means that should not deplete any ozone molecule. 0 ODP value म्हणजे काय? त्या ठिकाणी क्लोरीन ऍटम अब्सेन्स आहे आणि क्लोरीन ऍटम अब्सेन्स असल्यामुळे काय होणार आहे? त्या ठिकाणी ओझोनचं डिप्लेशन होणार नाही. So refrigerant having non-zero ODP have either already phased out. Here this sentence is important. Refrigerant having non-zero ODP have either already phased or already been phased out. So whatever R11, R12 refrigerants are there, so those R11, R12 refrigerants are already been phased out. That means not a single application we are using R11, R12 refrigerant, and whatever R22 refrigerant is there, so that R22 refrigerant will be in the phase out condition in the near future. That means up to 2030, that R22 refrigerant will be also phased out. So since ODP depends mainly on the presence of chlorine or bromine in the molecule, so we have to choose the refrigerant which is having either chlorine. So only refrigerant having chlorine will have the ozone depletion potential value as 0. So if that refrigerant is consisting of chlorine atom, that is nothing but CFC type of refrigerant or HCFC type of refrigerant or bromine, that cannot be used under new regulation according to Monotrol protocol. So this is called as the ozone depletion potential. Then one more term is there, that is called as the global warming potential. That is called as a global warming potential. So here in the name itself, global warming potential. So potential of any refrigerant, so that is called as a GWP, and ozone depletion potential is called as a ODP. So global warming potential, so the potential of any refrigerant to cause the global warming, potential of any refrigerant to cause the global warming, that will be called as the global warming potential. So while selecting the refrigerant, we have to select the refrigerant which is having the low value of GWP, low value of GWP as possible to minimize the problem of global warming. So if we are considering R134A as a refrigerant, so though we are saying that R134A refrigerant is having the 0 value of ODP, is having the 0 value of ODP. ODP value किती है जी? Ozone depletion potential value किती? 0 है. But as this refrigerant is consisting of the hydrogen, because C2H2 C2H2F4, that is nothing but this is the hydrocarbon HCF type of refrigerant. So here as hydrogen atom is present, so that hydrogen atom, because of presence of that hydrogen atom, there will be the global warming. So though we are saying that R134A refrigerant is having 0 value of ozone depletion potential, but it is possessing of high value of global warming potential. It is possessing of high value of global warming potential. That's why that R134A as a refrigerant is also not the final solution. Is also not the final solution. So in coming future, because of presence of global warming potential in that R134A refrigerant, we have to phase out that R134A refrigerant also. So their research is being carried out to develop new refrigerant which will have the zero value of ozone depletion potential and very less value of global warming potential. Are you getting? So this is the term called as the global warming potential. Then based on that ozone depletion potential and global warming potential, there is again one more term which is related to the refrigerant, and that term is called as the total equivalent warming index. That is called as the total equivalent warming index. So this is called as the TEWI. So here, if I am going to consider both, that means direct as well as indirect effect. If I am going to consider both direct as well as indirect effect of global warming on the environment because of contribution of that refrigerant, so that term will be called as, or that factor will be called as a TEWI. So the factor TEWI, that means total equivalent warming impact, that will consist of both direct means due to release into atmosphere, and indirect, that is because of through energy consumption. म्हणजे ज्यावेळेस एखादा रेफ्रिजरंट ऍटमॉस्फिअर मध्ये रिलीज होतोय त्यावेळेस तो डायरेक्टली आणि इनडायरेक्टली त्या ग्लोबल वॉर्मिंगला काय करणार आहे, that will produce the global warming directly as well as indirectly. And if I am going to consider the factor for each and every refrigerant which is causing direct as well as indirect global warming, so that factor will be called as a total equivalent warming index. So the factor TEWI consider both direct, that is due to release into atmosphere, and indirect, that is through energy consumption contribution of the refrigerant to the global warming. So while selecting the refrigerant, we have to select the refrigerant which is having the low value of TEWI. Low value of TEWI on the global warming. So that refrigerant, the refrigerant which is having low value of TEWI will be preferably from global warming point of view. So this is called as a this is called as a total equivalent warming index, that is nothing but TEWI. So here after this point, we have in this point itself we have seen the alternative refrigerant or concept of alternative refrigerant also. So first one, instead of R12, because we are knowing that R11 and R12, these two refrigerants are being phased out. So here we were using R12 as a refrigerant. At that point, we are presently using R134A as a refrigerant. R134A as a refrigerant, and here we are using R11 as a refrigerant at that location or at that application. Presently, we are using R123A. R123A as a refrigerant. So both the refrigerant will have the value of ozone depletion potential very less. Out of that, R134A refrigerant is having the ozone depletion potential value as a 0, and here R123A is having the ozone depletion value or ozone depletion potential value as a 0.02, whereas R11 was having the ozone depletion potential value as a 1, and R12 was having the ozone depletion potential value as a 0.92. So instead of R11, presently we are using R123A as a refrigerant. This is also called as a SUPA. SUPA. This is also called as the SUPA, and this is the tetrafluoroethane. So this is about our chapter number 1. Are you getting? So if any student is having any question related to refrigerant point, you can ask me Otherwise, we are going to switch to our next chapter, that is nothing but chapter number 2. So if anyone is having any question, you can ask me related to the topic called as a refrigerant. Is there any question? Have you understood this concept of refrigerant? Yes or no? Have you understood this topic number 1? Entire topic number 1. Is there any question, any problem, or any query? You can ask me. Otherwise, we are going to switch to our chapter number 2. That is nothing but vapor refrigeration system. Is there any question, any query? So shall we proceed to our chapter number 2? Yes or no? Shall we proceed to our chapter number 2? Write in the chat box. Is there any query, any question? Otherwise, we have to proceed to our chapter number 2. Okay. So chapter number 2. The title of chapter number 2 is nothing but vapor refrigeration system. So if you see the syllabus of vapor refrigeration system, so this topic, vapor refrigeration system, is also divided into two categories. This topic, chapter number 2, is also divided into two categories. So out of that, first category is nothing but vapor compression refrigeration system, and second category is nothing but vapor absorption refrigeration system. So that vapor compression refrigeration system is called as a PCRS. This is called as a PCRS. Vapor compression refrigeration system. This is called as a PCRS, and whatever another category is there, that is called as a vapor absorption refrigeration system. So this is called as a PARS. So working principle of vapor compression and vapor absorption refrigeration system will be somewhat different. So small changes is there between vapor compression and vapor absorption refrigeration system. So which points we have to cover under the topic vapor compression refrigeration system? So first point is nothing but vapor compression refrigeration system. Vapor compression refrigeration system working on simple vapor compression system. Then second, representation of different vapor compression refrigeration cycle on TS and pH diagram. On TS and pH diagram. Previously in chapter number 1, we were having the PV and TL diagram. We were having the PV and TL diagram. So here in case of vapor compression refrigeration system, instead of PV diagram, we have to draw the pH and TL diagram. The next point is nothing but vapor compression cycle subcooling, then vapor compression cycle superheating, then analysis and performance calculation. Wait for 1 minute. Analysis and performance calculation of above cycles, that is whatever subcooling cycles, superheating cycles we are going to study, we have to do the analysis as well as we have to calculate the performance. Then effect of operating parameter, effect of operating parameters on the performance of PCC, then actual PCC and methods of improving the COP. So this is the points which we have to study under the topic A, that is called as the vapor compression refrigeration system. So here numerical treatment is also there. That means we have to solve the numericals based on vapor compression refrigeration system by using the pH and TS diagram. Then whatever topic B is there. So topic B is nothing but paper absorption refrigeration system. So under this topic B, we have to study introduction of paper absorption refrigeration system, then working of simple vapor absorption refrigeration system, then practical vapor absorption refrigeration system, then desirable properties of binary mixture, that is called as the aqua ammonia, then COP of ideal vapor absorption refrigeration system, then lithium bromide, that is called as the LIBR vapor absorption refrigeration system, then free fluid vapor absorption refrigeration system, that is also called as the Electrolux refrigeration. Electrolux refrigeration. Then what are the various applications of vapor absorption refrigeration system? And last point is nothing but comparison between PCRS and PARS. Comparison between PCRS and PARS. So this is the points which we have to cover. So as the topic name is vapor refrigeration system. So we are knowing the meaning of each and every term. Vapor, that is nothing but gaseous phase of refrigerant. Then refrigeration, we are knowing the meaning of refrigeration, and system. Also, we are knowing the meaning of system also. So directly we'll start the vapor compression refrigeration system. First point, that is nothing but vapor compression refrigeration system. So whatever vapor compression refrigeration system is there, that is the improved type of air refrigeration system. So in topic number 1, we have seen the reverse Carnot refrigeration system, and after that Bell polymer refrigeration system. So in case of reverse Carnot cycle, we were having two isentropic and two isothermal processes. We are having two isentropic and two isothermal processes, and in that reverse Carnot cycle, we were using air as a refrigerant. Then modified version of reverse Carnot cycle is called as the Bell polymer cycle. Modified version of reverse Carnot cycle is called as a Bell polymer cycle. So in case of Bell polymer cycle, two isothermal processes from the reverse Carnot cycle are being replaced by the isobaric processes. Two isothermal processes from reverse Carnot cycle are being replaced by the isobaric processes, and in case of Bell polymer cycle, we were also using the air as a refrigerant. म्हणजे दोन्ही मध्ये रिव्हर्स कॅनॉट मध्ये पण आणि बेल पॉलिमर सायकल मध्ये पण we are using air as a refrigerant only. That air was circulated continuously throughout the system. That air was absorbing the heat inside the evaporator, and that air was rejecting the heat inside the condenser. So that was called as a air refrigeration system. Now, whatever this PCRS system is there, or vapor compression refrigeration system is there, that vapor compression refrigeration system is nothing but the improved type of air refrigeration system. Improved type of air refrigeration system. And in case of vapor compression refrigeration system, we are going to use suitable working substance, that is called as a refrigerant, which will change its phase, from liquid to vapor and from vapor to liquid. That means in case of vapor compression refrigeration system, instead of air as a refrigerant, we are going to use any another suitable refrigerant which will change its phase from liquid to vapor and vapor to liquid. Whether it was possible for एअरचं कन्वर्जन, लिक्विड एअरचं कन्वर्जन वेपर एअर किंवा वेपर एअरचं कन्वर्जन लिक्विड एअर मध्ये किंवा फेज चेंज होत होती का त्या ठिकाणी एअरची एअर रेफ्रिजरेशन सिस्टीम मध्ये होत नव्हती. तर त्या ठिकाणी आपण काय करणार आहे, एअरला रिप्लेस करणार आहे. कशानं? कोणत्याही एका सुटेबल रेफ्रिजरंटनं, जो की लिक्विडचं कन्वर्जन वेपर मध्ये करेल आणि वेपरचं कन्वर्जन लिक्विड मध्ये करेल. नाउ what will happen because of changing or because of replacing air by suitable refrigerant? So in case of air refrigeration system, as we were using air as a refrigerant, so only sensible heat was absorbed inside the evaporator and only sensible heat will be rejected inside the condenser. Air ची फेज चेंज होत नव्हती इव्हापोरेटर मध्ये पण आणि कंडेन्सर मध्ये पण. म्हणजे जे काही चेंज इन टेम्परेचर जे होतं एअरचं चेंज इन टेम्परेचर जे होतं ते कशामुळे होतं, बिकॉज ऑफ सेन्सिबल हीट मुळे. म्हणजे इव्हापरेटर मध्ये हीट ऍब्झॉर्ब केल्यामुळे काय होत होतं, त्या कोल्ड एअरचं टेम्परेचर वाढत होतं आणि कंडेन्सर मध्ये हीट रिजेक्ट केल्यामुळे हॉट एअरचं कन्वर्जन कोल्ड एअर मध्ये होत होतं. सो वॉट एव्हर ट्रान्सफर ऑफ हीट is there in case of air refrigeration cycle was there, that is mainly because of sensible heat. But when we are going to replace air by the suitable refrigerant, when we are going to replace air by the suitable refrigerant which will change its phase, so in that case along with latent heat there will be the absorption of sensible heat also. That means in case of vapor compression refrigeration system, in case of vapor compression refrigeration system, latent as well as sensible heat will be absorbed. Latent as well as sensible heat will be absorbed in the evaporator, and latent as well as sensible heat will be rejected inside the condenser. So the main advantage of that vapor compression refrigeration system will be we can use that vapor compression refrigeration system for domestic purpose as well as for industrial purpose. That means capacity. Here we can use that vapor compression refrigeration system. So we can use that vapor compression refrigeration system from 0.5 ton of capacity or from 0.5 TR to 200 TR. 0.5 TR to 200 TR. 0.5 TR म्हणजे आपला डोमेस्टिक रेफ्रिजरेटर जो आहे. So small domestic refrigerator will have the capacity of 0.5 TR. So there also we are using the vapor compression system. And in large plant, that means where we are having the large air conditioning plant also, which is used for cinema hall as well as various pharmaceutical industries also. There we may have the capacity up to 200 TR. So from 0.5 TR to 200 TR capacity, we can use the vapor compression refrigeration system for all the purposes. Are you getting? So what will be the advantages and disadvantages of vapor compression refrigeration system over air refrigeration system? So we have to see the advantages as well as disadvantages of vapor compression refrigeration system over air refrigeration system. Why we are seeing advantages as well as disadvantages of PCRS over air refrigeration? Because PCRS is nothing but the modified version of air refrigeration system itself. So the various advantages. So vapor compression refrigeration system will have the small size. First advantage, it will have the small size for a given capacity of refrigeration, because here we are using the refrigerant instead of air, and that refrigerant will absorb maximum amount of heat because of absorption of sensible as well as latent heat, and it will also reject maximum amount of heat. That means maximum amount of heat will be carried out in case of vapor refrigeration system as compared to air refrigeration system. Then PCRS system will have the less running cost. It will have the less running cost. Overall, though the initial cost of PCRS system will be larger, but running cost of the PCRS system will be less as compared to air refrigeration system. Then COP of this system will be high, and this system can be used for large range of temperature. That means from 0.5 TR capacity to 200 TR capacity. And disadvantages of using PCRS system. Disadvantages of using PCRS system over air refrigeration system is only it will have the high initial cost. It will have the high initial cost, and their second disadvantage, major disadvantage will be if there will be the leakage of refrigerant. If there will be a leakage of refrigerant, so that will cause the major problem on the environment as well as on the human being. So prevention of leakage of refrigerant. Prevention of leakage of refrigerant in case of vapor compression refrigeration system is the major task as compared to air refrigeration system. Are you getting? So this is nothing but the advantages and disadvantages of vapor compression refrigeration system over air refrigeration system. Now we'll see the simple paper compression refrigeration system. We'll see the simple paper compression refrigeration system. Now, whatever simple paper compression refrigeration system will be there, that will mainly consist of four equipment. So, first equipment will be called as a compressor. Paper compression refrigeration system is mainly consisting of major four equipment. Out of that, first equipment will be called as a compressor. Second equipment will be called as a condenser. Second equipment will be called as a condenser. Then third equipment will be called as a expansion device. Third one will be called as a expansion device, and last one will be called as a evaporator. Last one will be called as a evaporator. So whatever this paper compression refrigeration system is there, that is also called as a two pressure system. Paper compression refrigeration system is there, that is also called as a two pressure system. Why we are saying this as a two pressure system? Because here this system will have the lower pressure and higher pressure. So whatever this line I have drawn, so above this line, whatever equipment will be there, those equipment will have the lower pressure. Those equipment will have the low pressure, that is also called as the evaporator pressure. That is also called as the evaporator pressure. And whatever this system will be there, which is below this line, that will be called as the higher pressure. So that is also called as the condenser pressure. Wait for 1 minute. Okay. So whatever system pressure will be there above this line, that will be the low pressure, and whatever system pressure will be there below this line, that will be called as a higher pressure. So lower pressure is also called as a evaporator pressure. Lower pressure is also called as a evaporator pressure. Higher pressure is also called as a condenser pressure. That means whatever two pressure will be there in case of paper compression refrigeration system. So first one will be the evaporator pressure, second one will be the condenser pressure. Okay, now how this system will work, that I will explain. So here the starting of system will be from inlet of the compressor. So this is the first device. This is the first device. This is the second device. This is the third device. And this is the fourth device. This is the fourth device. Now here in case of paper compression refrigeration system, whatever refrigerant we are using here, whatever working medium we are using, instead of air, we are using the refrigerant, suitable refrigerant, which will change its phase. So at the start of compressor, so here I'm going to consider this as the point number 1. So at the start of compressor, we will have low pressure, low temperature paper refrigerant. We'll have low pressure LP, low temperature LT paper refrigerant. So during suction stroke of compressor, that low temperature, low pressure paper refrigerant. Wait for 1 minute. Okay. During suction stroke of compressor, that low temperature, low pressure paper refrigerant will be served inside of the compressor, and that will be compressed inside the compressor. And here during discharge probe, here that low pressure, low temperature paper refrigerant will get converted into high temperature, high pressure paper refrigerant. High temperature, high pressure paper refrigerant. Now, whatever 1 to 2 process is occurring, that 1 to 2 process will occur inside the compressor. 1 to 2 process will occur inside the compressor, and that will be called as the isentropic compression process. That will be called as a isentropic compression process. So isentropic compression means, isentropic compression का अर्थ काय होते? The word isentropic means entropy will remain same. Entropy of the system or entropy of the refrigerant will remain same, but because of compression, their pressure will goes on increasing. Pressure of that refrigerant, volume of that refrigerant will goes on decreasing, and temperature of that refrigerant will also goes on increasing. So here enthalpy, one more term will be there called as the enthalpy. Enthalpy of that refrigerant will also goes on increasing. So 1 to 2 process is occurring. 1 to 2 process is occurring inside the compressor. That is called as the isentropic compression. And because of this isentropic compression, low pressure, low temperature paper refrigerant, low pressure, low temperature paper refrigerant is getting converted into high temperature, high pressure paper refrigerant. High temperature, high pressure paper refrigerant. Now that high temperature, high pressure paper refrigerant will be passed to the another device called as a condenser. High temperature, high pressure paper refrigerant will be passed to the next device called as a condenser. So here condenser is the device which is rejecting the heat. So heat rejection process will take place. So here there will be the condenser fan. Beside this condenser coil, there will be the condenser fan, and that condenser fan will blow the air. Condenser fan will blow the air over that condenser coil. So here condenser is nothing but tubular coil through which that high temperature, high pressure paper refrigerant is passing. And beside that condenser, there will be the exhaust fan. That exhaust fan will circulate the air over that condenser. And because of this, here what will happen? That high temperature, high pressure paper refrigerant, high temperature, high pressure paper refrigerant will reject the heat. To the air which is being circulated over that condenser. And if that high temperature, high pressure paper refrigerant will reject the heat, then because of heat rejection, as that refrigerant is rejecting the heat, that's why because of heat rejection, the energy of that refrigerant will goes on decreasing. That means here that paper refrigerant will get converted into liquid refrigerant. म्हणजे ह्या ठिकाणी काय होणार आहे, कंडेन्सर मध्ये काय होणार आहे, पेपर रेफ्रिजरंटचं कन्वर्जन हळूहळू कशामध्ये होणार आहे, लिक्विड रेफ्रिजरंट मध्ये होणार आहे. त्या ठिकाणी सुरुवातीला तुम्हाला काय दिसतात, पेपर रेफ्रिजरंट दिसतात, आणि परत त्या पेपर रेफ्रिजरंटचं कन्वर्जन हळूहळू कशामध्ये झालेलं आहे, लिक्विड रेफ्रिजरंट मध्ये. आणि ऍट द आउटलेट ऑफ कंडेन्सर, we'll have the complete liquid refrigerant. So if I'm going to consider this as a point number 2 and this as a point number 3, so 2 to 3 process will occur. 2 to 3 process will occur inside of the condenser, and that 2 to 3 process will be called as a constant pressure heat rejection process. 2 to 3 process will be called as a constant pressure heat rejection process with Sorry. So here, whatever 2 to 3 processes there, that 2 to 3 process is called as a constant pressure heat rejection process inside the condenser. So 2 to 3 process will occur inside the condenser, and that will be constant pressure heat rejection process. Constant pressure heat rejection process. And because of this heat rejection, that vapor refrigerant is getting converted into liquid refrigerant. Now here, whatever phase of refrigerant will be there, that phase of refrigerant will be constant pressure आहे, त्यामुळे प्रेशर काय राहणार आहे, सेमच राहणार आहे, हाय प्रेशरच असणार आहे. या ठिकाणी प्रेशर काय राहणार आहे, हाय प्रेशर राहणार आहे. ओनली थिंग पेपर विल गेट कन्वर्टेड इनटू लिक्विड. या ठिकाणी पेपरचं कन्वर्जन कशामध्ये होईल, लिक्विड मध्ये होईल. And depending upon which type of heat is being rejected, here the temperature will be either high temperature or low temperature. Depending upon which type of heat is being rejected, here temperature will be either high temperature or low temperature. आता high temperature कधी राहणार आहे, जर ह्या ठिकाणी फक्त latent heat reject झाली. If whatever amount of heat is being rejected, if that is only latent heat, latent heat म्हणजे काय असतं, कोण सांगेल? लॅटेंट हीट म्हणजे काय असतं, ज्या ठिकाणी टेम्परेचर सेम राहतं, फक्त फेज चेंज होते. म्हणजे ह्या ठिकाणी जर समजा माझ्याकडे 40 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेडची जर पेपर रेफ्रिजरंट असेल, 40 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेडचं जर पेपर रेफ्रिजरंट असेल आणि त्याचा बॉइलिंग पॉईंट टेम्परेचर पर्टिक्युलरली फॉर दॅट कंडेन्सर प्रेशर जर 40 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेडच असेल, तर ह्या ठिकाणी काय होणार आहे, हीट रिजेक्शन मुळे डायरेक्टली 40 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेडचं कन्वर्जन, 40 डिग्री पेपर रेफ्रिजरंटचं कन्वर्जन 40 डिग्री लिक्विड रेफ्रिजरंट मध्ये होणार आहे. बरोबर आहे. म्हणजे ह्या ठिकाणी पेपरचं कन्वर्जन लिक्विड मध्ये झालं, पण टेम्परेचर सेमच आहे, 40 डिग्री. म्हणजे फक्त जी काही हीट रिजेक्ट झालेली आहे ती कोणती, लॅटेंट हीट आहे. म्हणजे विदाउट चेंजिंग टेम्परेचर जर फेज चेंज होत असेल तर त्या ठिकाणी लॅटेंट हीट होणार आहे. जर लॅटेंट हीट रिजेक्ट झाली तर त्या ठिकाणी काय राहणार आहे, हाय टेम्परेचरचं कन्वर्जन कशामध्ये होणार आहे, हाय टेम्परेचरचं ऍज इट इज हाय टेम्परेचर मध्ये राहणार. आणि जर त्या ठिकाणी जर बॉइलिंग पॉईंट टेम्परेचर, त्या रेफ्रिजरंटचा बॉइलिंग पॉईंट टेम्परेचर जर समजा 20 डिग्री आहे, रेफ्रिजरंटचा बॉइलिंग पॉईंट टेम्परेचर किती आहे, 20 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड आहे. कितीला, फॉर कंडेन्सर प्रेशर ऑफ 5 बार कंडेन्सर प्रेशरला रेफ्रिजरंटचा बॉइलिंग पॉईंट टेम्परेचर 20 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड. तर त्या ठिकाणी जर समजा 5 बार प्रेशर असेल कंडेन्सरचं किंवा आउटलेट ऑफ कॉम्प्रेसरचं आणि टेम्परेचर जर 40 डिग्री असेल, टेम्परेचर जर 40 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड असेल, तर ज्यावेळेस त्या ठिकाणी हीट रिजेक्शन होईल त्यावेळेस काय होणार आहे, सुरुवातीला त्या 40 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड पेपर रेफ्रिजरंटचं कन्वर्जन कशामध्ये होणार आहे, 20 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड पेपर रेफ्रिजरंट मध्ये होणार. आणि 20 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड बॉइलिंग पॉईंट असल्यामुळे काय होणार आहे, परत त्या पर्टिक्युलर प्रेशरला त्या 20 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड पेपर रेफ्रिजरंटचं कन्वर्जन कशामध्ये होणार आहे, 20 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड लिक्विड रेफ्रिजरंट मध्ये होणार. म्हणजे ह्या ठिकाणी 40चं 20 मध्ये कन्वर्जन झालं पेपरचं वेपर मध्ये, म्हणजे सेन्सिबल हीट. आणि परत 20 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड पेपरचं 20 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड लिक्विड मध्ये, म्हणजे त्या ठिकाणी काय होतंय, सेन्सिबल ऍज वेल ऍज लॅटेंट हीट. सेन्सिबल ऍज वेल ऍज लॅटेंट हीट जर रिजेक्ट झाली तर त्या केसमध्ये काय होणार आहे, त्या ठिकाणी लो टेम्परेचर येणार. समजतंय, हाय टेम्परेचर आणि लो टेम्परेचर कधी येणार आहे, समजतंय का? Are you getting this point? Yes or no? Are you getting this point? Yes or no? Can anyone tell me? Write in the chat box. Write in the chat box, please. Do it fast. Are you getting this point? Only one student is replying. What about remaining student? Now here whatever 2 to 3 process is there, that is called as a constant pressure heat rejection process. Now outlet of this condenser, outlet of condenser is nothing but high temperature or low temperature high pressure liquid refrigerant that will be supplied to the receiver. So whatever this receiver part is there, that receiver part will not have any thermodynamic process. So this is non-functional device. This is non-functional device. Only function of this receiver will be to take the refrigerant which is coming from the condenser and regulate the supply to the expansion device. म्हणजे त्या ठिकाणी जो काय रेफ्रिजरंटचा सप्लाय रेग्युलेट करायचं जे काम आहे ते कोण करणार आहे, रिसिव्हर करणार आहे. देयर विल नॉट बी एनी थर्मोडायनामिक प्रोसेस. देयर विल नॉट बी एनी थर्मोडायनामिक प्रोसेस इनसाइड द रिसिव्हर. Only function of receiver will be to take the refrigerant, liquid refrigerant which is coming from the condenser and supply that liquid refrigerant to the expansion device. So here that means inlet to that expansion device will have the same point as that of outlet to the condenser. So here also we will have the point number 3. Point number 3 is nothing but high temperature or low temperature, high temperature or low temperature, then high pressure liquid refrigerant, high pressure liquid refrigerant. Now that high temperature or low temperature high pressure liquid refrigerant will be supplied to the next device called as a expansion wall, called as a expansion wall. So here the process which is carried out in that expansion wall, that is called as the isenthalpic expansion process. So process which is carried out inside the expansion wall, that is called as the isenthalpic expansion process. And because of this isenthalpic expansion process, because of this isenthalpic expansion process, here pressure of that liquid refrigerant, pressure of that liquid refrigerant will goes on changing from high pressure to low pressure, or from condenser pressure to evaporating pressure, high pressure to low pressure. And as there is a drastic change, as there is a drastic change in the pressure, that's why here while converting high pressure into low pressure, here there may be the chances that small amount of liquid refrigerant, there may be the chances that small amount of liquid refrigerant will get evaporate, will get evaporate. जर तुम्ही बघितलं असेल ज्यावेळेस धबधब्यावरून पाणी पडतं, waterfall, if you observe the waterfall, then what is happening in that waterfall initially? So whenever there will be the fall of water, that means in case of waterfall, there drastic change in pressure is occurring, and because of that drastic change in pressure, that means high pressure is getting converted into low pressure. And because of the same, you are observing that there on the top of waterfall, you are observing small amount of vapor. So here in this case also, when there will be the expansion inside this expansion wall, that means here high pressure refrigerant is getting converted into low pressure refrigerant. So here small amount, that means 1% or 2% of liquid refrigerant will get vaporized. So here at the outlet of this expansion wall, we will have the liquid plus vapor mixture. We will have the plus vapor mixture. Okay, we will have the liquid plus vapor mixture. So and pressure temperature, so temperature of that refrigerant will also goes on drastically decreasing. So here that high temperature, if there will be the high temperature at the inlet of expansion device, then that will get converted into low temperature depending upon condition. त्या ठिकाणी काय होतं, एक्सपान्शन झाल्यामुळे टेम्परेचर काय होत असतं, कमीच होत असतं. जर ह्या ठिकाणी हाय टेम्परेचर असेल तर ह्या ठिकाणी कशामध्ये कन्वर्जन होणार आहे, लो टेम्परेचर मध्ये होणार आहे. आणि ह्या ठिकाणी जर लो टेम्परेचर असेल तर ह्या ठिकाणी व्हेरी लो टेम्परेचर मध्ये कन्वर्जन होणार आहे. आणि हे हाय टेम्परेचर आणि लो टेम्परेचर कशावर डिपेंड आहे, त्या ठिकाणी कोणती अमाऊंट ऑफ हीट रिजेक्ट झाली, फक्त लॅटेंट झाली की सेन्सिबल ऍज वेल एज लॅटेंट झाली, त्यावरती डिपेंड असणार. सो व्हॉट एव्हर 3 to 4 processes occurring, whatever 3 to 4 processes occurring, that 3 to 4 process is occurring inside the expansion device. 3 to 4 processes occurring inside the expansion device, and that process is called as the isenthalpic expansion process. That is called as the isenthalpic that is called as the isenthalpic expansion process. So that isenthalpic expansion process will occur inside the expansion device. Now at the outlet of expansion valve, we are having the point number 4, which is having the condition as a low temperature or very low temperature, low pressure, liquid plus vapor mixture. Now that low pressure liquid plus vapor mixture is passed through the evaporator. So this is the evaporating coil. That evaporating coil will be surrounded, or that evaporating coil will be kept inside the insulated chamber in which we want to cool the substance or product. So whatever substance or product which we want to cool, that will be kept inside this insulated chamber. म्हणजे जर आपल्याला कोणताही सबस्टन्स किंवा कोणताही प्रोडक्ट जर कूल करायचा असेल तर तो हा इन्सुलेटेड केबिन मध्ये पुटअप केलेला असतो. अँड इनसाइड दॅट इन्सुलेटेड केबिन वी विल हॅव द इव्हॅपोरेटिंग कॉइल. सो हियर through that evaporating coil, that low pressure liquid plus vapor mixture will pass. So as that low pressure, low temperature or very low temperature liquid plus vapor mixture is passing through this evaporating coil, so that refrigerant will have the tendency, to absorb the heat from the substance which you want to cool. जो सबस्टन्स किंवा जो प्रोडक्ट आपल्याला कूल करायचा आहे त्या प्रोडक्ट मध्ये जी काय अमाऊंट ऑफ हीट असणार आहे ती हीट कोण ऍब्सॉर्ब करणार आहे, हा जो काय लो टेम्परेचर लो प्रेशर लिक्विड प्लस पेपर मिक्सचर जे आहे ते काय करणार आहे, त्या ठिकाणी हीट ऍब्सॉर्प्शन करणार आहे. अँड बिकॉज ऑफ दिस हीट ऍब्सॉर्प्शन, सो हियर इनसाइड द इव्हॅपोरेटर, that means whatever 4 to 1 process will be there, that 4 to 1 process will occur inside the evaporator. So that evaporator process will be again constant pressure heat absorption, constant pressure heat absorption inside the evaporator, constant pressure heat absorption inside the evaporator. And because of constant pressure heat absorption inside the evaporator, at the outlet of evaporator we will have the same pressure. प्रेशर काय राहणार आहे, सेमच राहणार आहे. आउटलेट ऑफ इव्हॅपोरेटरला प्रेशर काय राहील, सेमच, म्हणजेच काय राहणार आहे, लो प्रेशरच राहणार आहे. हियर अगेन वी आर हॅविंग द लो प्रेशर. हियर टेम्परेचर, or first of all we'll say the phase of refrigerant. Initially we are having the liquid plus vapor mixture. At the inlet of evaporator we are having the liquid plus vapor mixture. Why liquid plus vapor mixture? Because of sudden expansion, small amount of liquid refrigerant is getting converted into vapor mixture and vapor refrigerant. That means here whatever this liquid plus vapor mixture is there, near about 95% liquid will be there and near about 5% vapor will be there. So whenever that liquid plus vapor mixture is passing, through this evaporating coil, here heat absorption is being taking place, and because of this heat absorption, here that liquid is trying to get converted into vapor, because we are knowing that boiling point temperature of refrigerant is very less. वेगवेगळे रेफ्रिजरंट जे आहेत, आता आपण जर रेफ्रिजरंट R12 ॲज अ रेफ्रिजरंट कन्सिडर केला तर बॉइलिंग पॉइंट टेम्परेचर किती, ॲटमॉस्फेरिक प्रेशरला नियर अबाउट -29 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड आहे. म्हणजे या ठिकाणी काय होणार आहे, बिकॉज ऑफ हीट ॲब्झॉर्प्शन इझिली दॅट लिक्विड रेफ्रिजरंट विल गेट कन्वर्टेड इनटू वेपर रेफ्रिजरंट. Now here again, depending upon which type of heat is being absorbed, here at the outlet of evaporator we have the temperature. जर ह्या ठिकाणी फक्त लॅटेंट हीट ऍब्सॉर्ब केली, म्हणजे टेम्परेचर मध्ये चेंज होणार नाही, फक्त काय होणार आहे, लिक्विडचं कन्वर्जन वेपर मध्ये होणार आहे. तर त्या केस मध्ये काय होणार आहे, लो टेम्परेचरचं कन्वर्जन लो टेम्परेचर मध्ये होणार आहे आणि व्हेरी लो टेम्परेचरचं व्हेरी लो मध्ये होणार आहे. But along with latent heat, if sensible heat will be absorbed inside the evaporator, then here low temperature will get converted into high temperature and very low temperature will get converted into low temperature likewise. And whatever process is occurring inside this evaporator, that process 4 to 1 will be called as a constant pressure heat absorption process. Are you getting? Now here if you observe, जी लाईन ड्रॉ केलेली आहे त्या लाईनच्या वरती जर तुम्ही प्रेशर बघितलं तर प्रत्येक पॉइंटला प्रेशर कोणतं आहे तुमचं? लो प्रेशर. सॉरी, प्रत्येक पॉइंटला काय असणार आहे तुम्हाला त्या वरती प्रत्येक पॉइंटला प्रेशर कोणतं असणार आहे? लो प्रेशर असणार. दॅट लो प्रेशर इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड ॲज इव्हॅपोरेटिंग प्रेशर. दॅट इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड ॲज इव्हॅपोरेटिंग प्रेशर. त्या इव्हॅपोरेटर मध्ये पण प्रेशर कोणतं असणार आहे? इव्हॅपोरेटिंग प्रेशर. बिफोर म्हणजे कॉम्प्रेसरच्या अगोदरचं प्रेशर कोणतं असणार आहे? लो प्रेशर म्हणजे इव्हॅपोरेटिंग प्रेशर असणार आहे. आणि ह्या लाईन पासून पुढे सक्शन झालं. सक्शन झाल्यानंतर परत काय झालं? कॉम्प्रेशनच्या वेळेस प्रेशर वाढणार आहे. लो प्रेशरचं कन्वर्जन हाय प्रेशर मध्ये. म्हणजे आउटलेट ऑफ कॉम्प्रेसर काय असणार आहे? हाय प्रेशर. कंडेन्सर कोणत्या प्रेशर वरती वर्क होणार आहे? हाय प्रेशर वरती. रिसिव्हर पण हाय प्रेशर वरती वर्क होणार. म्हणजे त्या लाईनच्या खालच्या डायरेक्शनला हाय प्रेशर असणार आहे. आणि हाय प्रेशरला आपण काय म्हणतोय? कंडेन्सर प्रेशर म्हणतोय. हाय प्रेशरला आपण काय म्हणतोय? कंडेन्सर प्रेशर म्हणतोय. आणि त्या ठिकाणी above line low pressure, below line condenser pressure or high pressure. That's why this vapor compression refrigeration system will be called as a two pressure system. That's why this system will be called as a two pressure system. And here there will be the change in phase. त्या ठिकाणी फेज चेंज होणार आहे. कुठून कशामध्ये कन्वर्जन होणार आहे? लिक्विडचं कन्वर्जन पेपर मध्ये, लिक्विड रेफ्रिजरंटचं कन्वर्जन पेपर रेफ्रिजरंट मध्ये कशामध्ये होणार आहे? इव्हॅपोरेटर मध्ये होणार आहे. कशामुळं? बिकॉज ऑफ हीट ऍब्झॉर्प्शन. आणि पेपर रेफ्रिजरंटचं कन्वर्जन लिक्विड रेफ्रिजरंट मध्ये कोणत्या ठिकाणी होणार आहे? कंडेन्सर मध्ये होणार आहे. बिकॉज ऑफ हीट रिजेक्शन. So this entire process is called as a vapor compression refrigeration system. So have you understood this vapor compression refrigeration system? Yes or no? Write in the chat box. Have you understood this vapor compression refrigeration system? Please reply in the chat box. If you are having any query, any question related to this vapor compression refrigeration system, you can ask me, because this system is very much important as far as this part A of this chapter is concerned. Because based on this diagram only, now whatever various types of vapor compression refrigeration systems are there, we are going to see those various types of vapor compression refrigeration system. Have you understood this? Only one or two students are giving the reply. What about remaining students? Should I mark the attendance of only these one or two students? If you haven't understood, then you might have some query or some question. So if you are having query or question, you can ask me. Okay. Now in somebody's mind, there may be question that why we are keeping lower pressure to the evaporator side and why we are keeping higher pressure to the condenser side. आपण इव्हापरेटरला लोअर प्रेशर कशासाठी देतोय आणि कंडेन्सरला हायर प्रेशर कशासाठी देतोय? जर त्या ठिकाणी मी इव्हापरेटर आणि कंडेन्सरची जर पोझिशन चेंज केली, that means if I might have given the higher pressure to the evaporator and I might have given the lower pressure to the condenser, then what will happen? Can anyone tell me why higher pressure is provided to the condenser only and why lower pressure is provided to the evaporator only? Can anyone tell me what is the reason? What is the reason behind this? Can anyone tell me? काय रिझन असू शकतं? Hello. 5 higher pressure is provided to the condenser and 5 lower pressure is provided to the evaporator. So purpose of providing higher pressure to the condenser is that the main intention in the condenser is to convert the paper refrigerant into liquid refrigerant. And to easily convert that paper refrigerant to liquid refrigerant, we have to increase the boiling point temperature of that refrigerant. And how we can increase the boiling point temperature of refrigerant? With the help of concept of pressure cooker. You might be knowing that because of increasing the pressure, boiling point temperature of that refrigerant will also goes on increasing. So here same concept is used. Because of increasing the pressure inside the condenser, we are using the boiling point temperature of that refrigerant. And because of increasing the boiling point temperature of that refrigerant, easily that paper refrigerant is getting converted into liquid refrigerant. That is our main intention. And why we are lowering the pressure inside the evaporator? Because of lowering the pressure, the boiling point temperature of the refrigerant will goes on decreasing. Boiling point temperature of the refrigerant will goes on decreasing. And here, as we are decreasing the pressure inside the evaporator, our main target or our main intention is to convert the liquid refrigerant into paper refrigerant. That means that liquid refrigerant should easily get converted into paper refrigerant. And for that purpose, by lowering the pressure, we are lowering the boiling point temperature. And in terms, we are easily converting that liquid refrigerant into paper refrigerant. That's why evaporator pressure is always lower and condenser pressure is always higher. And 4 processes which are occurring inside this paper compression system. 1 to 2 process will occur inside the compressor. That process will be isentropic compression. 2 to 3 process will occur inside the condenser. That will be constant pressure heat rejection. 3 to 4 process will occur inside the expansion device, isenthalpic expansion, and 4 to 1 process will occur inside the evaporator. That will be constant pressure heat absorption process. So this is same diagram called as the paper compression refrigeration system. So this is the compressor. Outlet of compressor is provided to the condenser. Outlet of condenser is provided to the receiver. Outlet of receiver is provided to the expansion device. This is called as the expansion device. So here we are having dryer or strainer. So what is the function of dryer or strainer? That I will explain in the next lecture. So this is the expansion device. Outlet of expansion device is provided to the evaporating coil, and outlet of evaporating coil is again provided to the compressor. Now here we have to represent that paper compression refrigeration system on the pH diagram and TS diagram. So before drawing of the pH and TS diagram, we should know the nature of pH and TS diagram. But now as the time is 11:30, so from 12 p.m. on from 12 o'clock onwards, there will be one session for you student that is related to the fuel aptitude championship. So almost all the students have registered for that fuel aptitude championship, and that session will start from 12 o'clock. So I think that session will be for 1 or 1.5 hours. So purposefully for that purpose only, we have taken first lecture of 1.5 hours. That means from 10 to 11:30. Now from 11:30 to 12, you will have a short break, and you have to appear for that fuel aptitude championship, which will be starting from 12 o'clock. So from 12 o'clock, I think that session will be 1 or hardly 1.5 hours. So after that session, after completion of that session, whatever next timetable will be there, I will communicate that next timetable depending upon how much time is required for that session. So after that, lunch break will be there, and after lunch break, our regular academics will be there. So there will be possibility that after that session, 2 or 3 lectures will be conducted. Okay, so now we have to end our session, or we have to end our lecture. So I will take the attendance, and after taking the attendance, you can exit the lecture. But from 12 o'clock onwards, you have to compulsorily attend for that fuel aptitude championship. So still, if you are not registered, so I will send the registration link so that you can attend that session. Okay. So now I will take the attendance, and after taking the attendance, you can exit the lecture. Okay. So I'll take the attendance based on the participant list. Roll number 1 present, 2 present, 3 present. Roll number 4 absent, 5 present, 6 present. Then roll number 7 absent, roll number 8 present, 9 absent, 10 present, roll number 11 absent, roll number 12 present, then 13 absent, 14 absent, 15 present, roll number 16 present, 17 present, 14 present. Bharat, Bharat, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, sir.
You have to write your roll number. While joining the lecture, you have to write your name in the format all students have written. BA
Okay, sir.
underscore roll number, and after that your name. Okay. So 14 present. 15 present.
Okay, sir.
Okay. 15 present, 16 present, 17 present, 18 present. Then roll number 19 absent. Roll number 20 absent. 21 present. 22 absent. 23 present. Then 24 absent. 25 present. Then
Sir,
26,
24 present.
4. Roll number 24. Give the attendance. Okay. Roll number 24. You also have to write your roll number in the given format only. So roll number 24 present. 25 present. 26 absent. 27 absent. Then 28 absent. 29 present. Then roll number 30 absent. 31 absent. 32 absent. 33 absent. 34 present. 35 present. 36 absent. Then 37 absent. 38 present. 39 absent. Roll number 40 present. Then 41 absent. Roll number 30. Okay. Sarpute, you have to also write down your name in the given format.
30 present, sir.
41 absent, 42 present, 43 present, 44 present, 45 present. After that, 46 present, 47 present, 48, 49 absent. 48, 49 absent, 50 present, 51 present. Then 52 absent, 53 absent, 54 absent. 55 present, 52 present. Okay, Sajid, write your name in the given format. 52 present. Okay, 53 absent, 54 absent, 55 present, 56 present, then 57 absent, 58 absent, 59 present, roll number 60 absent.
Sir, 57 present.
60 present.
Okay,
Sir,
60
57 present.
57 present.
Sir, 60 present. 60
Okay,
present.
ओके ओके त्या फॉर्मॅट मध्ये त्यांची नावं नाहीत. BA अंडरस्कोर रोल नंबर स्पेस आणि त्यानंतर तुमचं नाव. त्यांनी त्या फॉर्मॅट मध्ये जॉईन होताना ते करा. ओके 60 प्रेझेंट, 61 absent
61 present, sir.
present. Okay.
लेकिन
खाली 62 present, 63 absent, 64 present, 65 present, 66 absent, 67 present, then 68 present, 69 present, 70 present, 71 absent, 71 absent, 72 absent,
72%, sir.
present. Okay, sir. 72 present, 73 present, 74 present, then 75 absent, 76 absent, then below roll number 14 present, 24 present, roll number 60 present, who else is there? 61 present, 26 Vaibhav Gaikwad present. Okay. हे सोडून कोण राहिलेत का आता? हे सोडून बाकी कोण राहिलेत का अटेंडन्स द्यायचे? सो